Let's take the discussion forward on consumer retailing trends which are shaping up. We have Anand Ramanathan of Deloitte talk to us more about that. Anand and team have actually come out with a detailed report taking stock of how trends are actually taking shape. Anand, thank you very much for your time. Anand, one of the key points which caught my attention from your latest write-up is that upcoming elections could actually inject a lot more liquidity in the hands of people, especially in Tier 2, Tier 3 and the rural side. And that could boost sales of consumer items. What category of consumption are we talking about here, and what's your hypothesis?
Thanks, Adria. Yes, indeed, we will see high retail growth in the next year. We expect it to be about 10 to 13%. And this is largely driven by an uptick in rural demand too. Urban demand had picked up, but we are seeing green shoots in rural India. And retail today in India is still about 2/3 of it is food and grocery. So food will be one of those big categories. But beyond that, if I were to look at other categories, while the overall retail market is expected to double by 2030, we have some categories like luxury, for example, which will grow at about 5x. We will have e-commerce grow at about 4x compared to the overall market at about 2x. And hence, these will be categories which will, or segments that will grow faster than the rest of the market.
Right. Anand, we've seen that certain ticket items, especially in FMCG, have been posting very, weak volume growth for several quarters now. Are there any green shoots? Even if you talk about the mid-range value retailing items, what would provide the trigger of change over there?
See, FMCG as a category will continue to grow, but we will see a shift from mass brands to niche brands, right? So there will be D2C brands, there will be private label. Private label is expected to grow 6x in a period where retail is otherwise growing at 2x. White labels, we are seeing a lot of online brands, for example, do really well. So there will be a greater penetration of some of these smaller brands which cater to micro segments and relative niches within the market. And we will see more discretionary behavior, right? And typically discretionary behavior promotes variety seeking. And hence, there is a greater number of brands and loyalty of at least consuming a few mass brands will perhaps reduce over the next few years, right? And that's the reason for the volume sluggishness that you've seen, because most of the large FMCG brands that we target are mass brands, right? We really don't look so closely at the smaller D2C brands or the private label brands.
Mm-hmm. Anand, the other thing which is happening is that the view that high inflation levels have also led to a lot of consumer base actually to shift downwards in value terms and try to adjust their in whatever liquidity they have, they're trying to adjust their requirements, and there was a downtrading happening at every category level. Do you think this will continue or it will get arrested? How do you see the things take shape around this?
So overall, we've seen the market look good, right? Particularly rural India. And hence, as demand strengthens, we will see some of these pressures of inflation soften. Plus, see, 60 to 70% of an FMCG brand's cost is going to come from the cost of raw material, right? And therefore, inflation and geopolitics and commodity prices, etc., all of it has an impact on pricing, which many a times they're not able to pass on to the consumer, right? So some of these have also eased up a little. Hence, we will see that at least in the near term, in the next 3 to 6 months, there will be some relief, both in terms of attractive demand as well as less pressure from commodity price fluctuations.
Anand, lastly, I want to understand from you the role of technology, AI, analytics in how are retailers adopting all of this to ensure higher sales or even reaching the right target audience and achieve much more efficiencies. And also by the use of all of this, do you see some brands, actually D2C kind of brands, achieve much bigger sales as well?
I think analytics is transformative. So there will be a lot of investments, firstly on the foundation layers, right? Just to have all of the data in one place, whether it is customer, whether it is inventory, whether it's sales, and hence you will see foundation investments. But then comes in the real value add from analytics, which is on the insights. And now with generative AI, with machine intelligence, a lot of predictive analytics can improve performance in this sector. We will see investments both on the front end as well as the back end of the business. On the front end, you mentioned D2C. Analytics will help track what individual customer experience is and what the needs and preferences of individual customers are, and hence things like personalization, etc., can direct better conversion as well as better value for the customer. And on the back end, whether it is the supply chain, whether it is finance, or looking at even people analytics, there is a lot of scope for efficiencies, which will kick in into all of these different functions at the back end, right? So we will see investments in analytics as one of the biggest drivers of change in the consumer sector.
All right, Anand, thank you very much for your time. Those are some of the inputs coming in as far as the retail and the consumer end of the industry is concerned.